Good morning. I'm Casey Durango. This is a standing Monday morning date that we have with each other. I am talking about the ketogenic diet. For those of you who don't know, I have lost 95.4 pounds on the ketogenic diet since starting in 2014. And that's what I talk about on my channel, Go Keto with Casey, about maybe how others might be able to lose weight and improve health and regain control of their lives. That's what I talk about. This morning, I'm going to, I have a few topics. This is the way I'm going to try to arrange this, is that I will talk about some topics and excuse me, I have a little bit of a delay on the screen, so it takes me a second to get everything up. I'm going to talk about how much water should we be drinking on the ketogenic diet. I'm going to talk about fasting, and I'm going to talk about exercise, and then we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. Good morning. I do want to acknowledge some folks that are popping in. Thank you so much for coming in. I have my coffee. Do you have yours? Or tea? I know some people are picking us up in the UK or in Europe and are in a different time zone, so somebody might be having a little adult beverage right now. And Mick is here from Oakland, California. Hola, thank you so much for jumping on so early. So let's just get right into it. I have the very good fortune to live in somewhat close proximity to Durham, North Carolina. And I've been able to attend the low carb support group meetings that are part of Dr. Eric Westman's practice. He's been doing these for years, and he's very generous with his time. So first Tuesday of every month, you can show up and get some support. So the last few meetings, he had asked me to kind of help moderate them with him. A very lovely woman had been doing it for years before, and she had some scheduling conflicts, so he asked me to step in. So I have been. I'm really honored to do that. So if you want to see a broadcast of that, I posted it on my Go Keto with Casey Facebook page. Just scroll down and you'll be able to see it. But the topic of water came up. Actually, I think I asked the question of Dr. Westman because I gotten a question on the YouTube channel, a comment saying asking me how much water I drink, because it's very important that you must drink a lot of water, because water is required to metabolize fat or to move fat along. I think somehow it was put. So I asked that question of Dr. Westman, and he looked at me like I had monkeys on my face. No, the idea that water is required to metabolize fat is, he just shook his head. No. The idea of drinking an arbitrary amount of water, he said, he's not sure where that came from. He's not sure it's based in science. There are people who must make sure they stay fully hydrated for specifically for kidney stone conditions. If you are prone to kidney stones, then you do want to stay hydrated for sure. But otherwise, drink when you're thirsty. You know, the mantra with Dr. Westman is pretty straightforward. Eat when you're hungry. Drink when you're thirsty. Keep your carbs below 20. And that's what I've tried to do. So if some people say they have trouble drinking so much water. If you like drinking water, drink it. If you don't feel like you want to drink, don't. Unless you have a medical situation that is requiring it. But it is not part of the ketogenic diet. Nowhere on his program will, I don't think, will you see, get 8 glasses of water a day. Drink when you're thirsty. So again, whatever works for you, okay? If it's working for you, keep it up. If something doesn't seem to be working for you, start tweaking and start asking yourself some questions. Ask yourself, am I making this harder than it needs to be? Am I overcomplicating this really very straightforward protocol? Keep your grams of carbohydrate 20 or fewer. That's total carbs for most of us. Eat fatty sources of protein. You don't have to add a lot of extra fat. Eat only when hungry. Drink only when thirsty. So do what works for you. If it's not working, start tweaking. Now, a lot of people have become enamored of something called IF. And FYI, one of my coaching clients suggested I do a video or a blog post on all the acronyms, IF, BFC, OMAD, WTF. Forget that last one. That was rude. And fasting. IF is intermittent fasting. A lot of people really love it, and they feel like it has turned the corner for them. Fantastic. I'll tell you, and this is just me, I'm not going to arbitrarily not eat if I'm truly hungry and I feel like I need the food. I'm not going to hold myself to a so-called feeding window. It might be that other folks need that, or it gives them a structure that works for them. Fabulous. In my thinking, eat only when you're hungry, and you'll just fall into so-called intermittent fasting. I'm down to usually about a meal a day, which is what OMAD stood for. I had to look it up myself. But that just came naturally. Eating only when hungry. That's the key. That's the hard part. Excuse me, Atticus, do not go out and bark at Walter. We have a problematic next door neighbor dog. So Atticus is grumbling because he wants to go out and bark at him. So fasting, by definition, if you're fasting, you're not eating carbs. Keep in mind, you're also not eating a whole bunch of dietary fat. So proponents of pounding back the fat and fasting, not sure how those two go together. But yes, you will, your insulin levels should come down because you're not eating carbs. So your liver's not shooting out glucose. So your pancreas is not shooting out insulin. So that will work. If it's something that you feel like you like and you can do, great. I try to follow my body's signals. Again, I am not going to arbitrarily not eat any more than I'm going to arbitrarily eat just because it's noon or because it's a family reunion or because it's an upcoming holiday that happens to have a lot of chocolate. I'm going to talk about that as well. Let me make a little note because I've been asked a lot about this. So do what you want. I'm not sure how based in, well, I'm not going to say that. Do it if it works for you. I don't do it. I eat when I'm hungry. And I believe Janie just wrote, my body naturally does intermittent fasting, eat only when hungry. I do my morning coffee and the OMAD, 1 meal a day. Some days I eat more. This morning I had breakfast. Most Monday mornings I don't, but I did. I was hungry. So follow your body. We're not the same every day. Our bodies are not the same every day. Some days I need more food than other days. And it's not even because of necessarily an exercise level. Which brings me to my next topic, exercise. How much exercise do I do? I've said it many times before. Can any of you tell me what I do? I dress like I exercise. But my main exercise is I get my steps in on my Garmin. I've been asked about this, Garmin 920 XT. It's an over-the-top, really great sports watch that is much more powerful than I need. It was a gift I gave to myself. When about 6 months in, I realized that this was different, and I treated myself. But anyway, you don't have to exercise. Exercise if you want. Exercise is awesome for mental well-being, for bone density, for fitness, for toning. It is not an effective tool for losing body fat. It's just not. A marathoner running a marathon over 26.2 miles burns how many calories? About 2,400. It seems like it should be like, 50,000, right? 2,400. One big meal is 2,400 calories. I mean, if you're eating the traditional diet, you can go to a fast food restaurant and get 2,400 calories. So you really can't outrun bad nutrition or the nutrition that is not right for you. So I keep saying I'm going to incorporate exercise. And I actually had a great little exchange with someone, and she may be on here this morning. If you are, say hey. She wanted to incorporate a getting back to running, or getting to running, or as she put it, walking and then walking slightly faster, which is what I do. And I thought I might start a little series about that. I've got my thank you to the donations and support and super chat and Patreon. I was able to get a sports camera, a little GoPro knockoff. I'm thinking of incorporating morning or 3 times a week walks around my neighborhood or parks and taking you along with me. I'm going to try to figure out how to do that. So exercise if you like. Keep in mind that if you increase your energy output, your energy needs may increase as well. That doesn't mean you have to eat carbs. Endurance athletes are doing very well. Elite endurance athletes are doing very well on the ketogenic diet. My husband went for a 25-mile bike ride yesterday. And his carbs, he essentially ate the same thing I did yesterday, except he had a smoothie. So his carbs were probably 20 or below. And he does great. And his cycling has improved steadily. So you don't have to up carbs. You might just need more food. But don't worry about pounding back a lot of extra fat unless you are a very low % body fat person. Is anyone here very low % body fat? Casey says as she lowers her hand. No, I'm not. I have plenty of body fat. Let me divert my attention to some comments. Vintage Girl, same here, and we end up intermittent fasting from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm thinking. That went by pretty fast. I do want to acknowledge and thank you for the super chat contributions. Those of you who don't know, and I'm not shilling, but it does help me to be able to keep doing this. There's something called super chat, which is a little $sign below the chat level here. And if you click on it, you can make a donation. It doesn't all come to me. YouTube gets a big chunk. But Kim Nordigan was last week's sponsor of our Monday morning live, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I also want to thank my patrons on Patreon, which is a site I'm learning about more. And some of you may be here. Our first patron-only, invitation-only video group chat is going to be tonight, Eastern Daylight Time. I'm really excited to be able to do this. This is a reward for a certain level of patronage, and I'm really looking forward to it. I get more out of the coaching and the chats and these sessions, I think, than you guys do. So thank you very much. I am going to now look at some comments. Okay, and y'all, I love that you guys are talking to each other. Okay, and Keto Queenie says, some days I eat 900 calories and some days 2,000, still losing. Keto Queenie, absolutely. My caloric needs vary depending on the day. Some days I'm hungrier than others. Some days I have no appetite. So I've had some 500 calorie days. I need to log yesterday. I had what did I have? For dinner, I had a lamb chop. And I measured it because I'm curious. It was about 2.5 ounces of lamb. And I had a sliver of grilled zucchini. for dinner and a glass of wine. So that's not many calories. And lunch, I'd had some leftover casserole. Darylyn, thank you, ma'am. You are wonderful. Now, y'all, if you can't see it, Darylyn has just made a super chat. So those of you who will know, if you make a super chat, please ask a question, because that's kind of what it's for. Your question will be pinned to the top, so I don't have to scroll back. So I can look at it. It'll hang there for a while, and everyone else can see it. So Darylyn says, I know all of us have somewhat different metabolism. Still, I wanted to ask whether you have noticed a stall or slowdown if you indulge in cheese. That is an excellent question, Darylyn. I learned I had to start being careful with cheese. And to let you know, I am what y'all would call stalled. Because I think it's human nature that we become impatient for progress. If you look at my next goal tab on my blog, you'll see that my chart is like this. And I'm essentially stalled. I'm bouncing up and down within about the same pound and a half. And I'm not looking at that as a stall yet, but I will tell you, probably 2 months ago, I realized every time I walked past the fridge, it seemed like a piece of cheese jumped out and stuck itself to my face until I finally pushed it over into my mouth. So, I have to remind myself as well, cheese is not unlimited on this protocol. It's about 2 ounces a day. So I measure my cheese. I measure my veg. I only really measure protein now because I'm curious. I was curious how much actual meat was on this lamb chop. We don't eat lamb chops often. So I would say it's not that it causes a stall. It's that overeating calories can cause a stall. And let's not look at it as a stall. Let's try to put a good spin on it. Let's call that, well, now I know what I can eat and maintain. How about that? And if you're enjoying your food, then huzzah. If I'm going to tweak anything, I don't think I'm going to change anything. If I'm at the weight that I'm going to be, then I'm at the weight I'm going to be, because I'm trying to stay pure to this. I'm eating only when hungry, drinking only when thirsty, getting fatty sources of protein, and I'm not adding dietary fat. And when I say not adding, I mean not copious amounts. I put butter on my vegetables. I drizzle olive oil on my salads if I have one. I marinated the lamb chops in olive oil and some lime juice, salt, pepper, garlic, easy peasy. But I'm not adding a lot of extra fat. So I'm just going to keep this up. We'll see what happens. I'm going to say when I incorporate exercise, my shape might change. So I might become smaller. My muscle might increase. We're going to see what's happening. I really have to do this. I want to do this. I don't have to do anything. I want to do this. Darylyn writes, I forgot about the 2 ounces. Cheese gives me amnesia, especially if it's brie. That's hysterical. I like that. And Keto Queenie says, I can't give up cheese. I just keep it to about 3 ounces a day. Whatever works for you. Okay. Now, Catherine Awad is writing, what's discouraging is when I stick to keto and stall for 3 months, but if I eat a cheat meal, I notice my weight drop. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know about that either. I don't know physiologically why that would happen. It could be a coinkydink, but if it works for you, I'm not going to do a cheat meal. And I'm not even going to call it cheat. It's not criminal. It's not a crime. Eat what you want. I'm just eat, do what you want. And if anybody else wants to butt their nose in your business, whatever you do with your life, that's on them. But I don't know why there would be a weight loss if you introduce carbohydrate. I know it's exactly the opposite for me. Hey, Pamela. Okay, Marion, averaging 1 pound loss weekly, finally. Marion, that is fantastic. Are you comfortable sharing your age, Marion? Because I don't think you're 22. we love our 20-somethings, our 30-somethings, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80s. But there are those of us who have been told, don't expect weight loss after age X. That was a big fat lie, wasn't it? Linda writes, I seem to gain over the weekend, but I haven't cheated once. It's just from eating more meals. Yeah, you can be in ketosis, totally staying under your carbs, a thing of beauty, and either not lose or put on because you simply ate more food than your body needed. That is the hardest part, and it's often the last piece. People will lose, and this was for me, lose, nice, beauty, beep, 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 beep. And the piece was eating only when hungry, and it took me a good long while to be able to tune into that. It's a tricky thing. Marion is 71 years old. Okay? 71. So if Marion can lose a pound a week, sticking to it, if I haven't lost in, I don't know, I haven't hit a new low in probably 2 or 3 weeks, then it can be done. And Kirby Keto comes in with 5 stars. We love that about Kirby Keto. Oh my goodness, Silver Willow, been doing keto 7 weeks, down 28 pounds, slowed down now, which you expected. I think and congratulations. 4 pounds a week, perfect. Beyond perfect, it's really fast. I think setting the correct expectations is really important, okay? Keep in mind, this is not a weight loss diet. It is a fat burning diet. It's when your body burns fat. Just make sure you are not overeating fat, not overeating food. At the support group meeting, another thing that came up, one of Dr. Westman's patients was there, a fellow. He's lost over 100 pounds. He had a question about, he says, okay, I'm around. I've lost over 100 pounds. People around me can see it. They're still doubting Thomas's. They're still thinking it's too hard to do, and how, I may be good for you, but I could never go without bread. And addressing the topic when people say, well, easy for you, but I can't give up bread. Easy for you, but I like chocolate. Easy for you, but my family, we eat rice. There's not a person I'm going to predict that's on this chat session right now or viewing this cannot say the exact same thing. Is there anyone whose family/culture was not laden with rice and or potatoes and or pasta and or bread and or Southern biscuits and or go down the line? Yes, it can be done. Dr. Westman, and then the patient that was in attendance told Dr. Westman, he says, I remember something you told me when I started. And this is apparently what Dr. Westman says. I can guarantee you that the program works. I can't guarantee you that you'll do it. It just works physiologically. It can be slower for some. It can show up in inches before on the scale in some. Some people require fewer carbs than even the 20. I would fall into that category, I believe. So stick with it. And just realize that everyone who has done this has faced the same, well, easy for you, but I fill in the blank. There are people here that were raw vegans. Talk about a shift. That's a big shift. So it can be done. It's straightforward. Keep your total carbs below 20 a day. Eat fatty sources of protein. Eat only when hungry. That's it. Then start tweaking if you need to. Jen S. writes, I thought I could not go a day without white rice. I grew up eating it every day. 4 weeks later, I have not touched rice, and I'm now down 12 pounds in 3 weeks. My husband's culture is very, congratulations, Jen, is very laden in rice. He's from Colombia, South America. Rice and beans would be eaten twice a day in copious amounts. Sometimes it would be 3 times a day. Sometimes it was mixed in with the eggs. We bought rice in 50-pound bags and beans in 25-pound bags at a time and went through them. And I ground wheat berries and made homemade bread every Sunday, even after I started keto. Yeah, that was a challenging day. Sundays were challenging because the bread smelled delicious and it tasted delicious. I used to eat it myself. We gave it up. He gave it up. I was very impressed. It can be done. Give yourself about a month. And it's very predictable. Most people, if they really do stick with it, find out that not only do they not have cravings for whatever their magic food was, they don't think about it, and then they get to the point they don't even want it. You know, you go and you go out to a restaurant, you see other people with giant platters of steak fries, and you go, ugh. And you know, that used to be our thing. And tortilla chips in Mexican restaurants, we'd eat 3 or 4 baskets between us. We just don't get them anymore. Dr. Westman says, you don't crave it if you don't eat it. So give yourself a while to not eat it. Okay? Try it. It works. It's amazing. So I'm going to also talk. Yay, Jennifer made it to the party. Love Jennifer. Talk about Easter. Oh, and I also want to bring up something else. A YouTube viewer commented, and I had mentioned before that we're going on a cruise in May. First cruise, actually our first vacation together, believe it or not, without kids. And these are both the same. So people have said, what are you going to do for Easter? What's my Easter meal going to be? I don't know. It'll be a fatty source of protein and maybe a vegetable, but it won't be any different. On the cruise, the question was asked, how are you going to deal with the cruise? Well, there's food everywhere. You know what? And I said this, I think, on the Facebook Live on Saturday. Being on that cruise won't be any different than being anywhere, particularly anywhere in the United States. There is food everywhere, all the time, everywhere. It's everywhere. So being on a cruise will be no different. We'll eat fatty sources of protein and whole vegetables, not, breaded and fried. We'll eat only when we're hungry. We're not going on the cruise to eat. We're going on the cruise to rock. We're going to Alaska. So we're really looking forward to that. But, and so this made me think, what about Easter? Easter is a holiday. There is a holiday once a month. Name me a month that doesn't have a holiday. Made up one or not. We go from Valentine's to St. Patty's to Easter to Cinco de Mayo. Is there anything in June? Father's Day, Mother's Day, 4th of July. We have a little time off for back to school. And then the whole season starts again between Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oi. So there's always a holiday. If holiday eating is important to your frame of mind, mazel tov, have at it. But see if maybe you can just eat ketogenically through one holiday. Resist it. It's hardly suffering. Just leave off the rice or the falafel or the potatoes or the chips. Just leave them off. Eat the burger without a bun. Eat bratwurst without a bun and without potatoes. So just see what you can do. And Lord have mercy. If you can make it through Valentine's and Easter and not indulge in chocolate, you are successful. You can do anything, right? So just don't set your mind. Okay, what if I was saying, oh my God, what am I going to do on this cruise? Now, Intellectually, it's no different than being anywhere else. I could walk for 8 minutes outside my my suburban house and be very close to food. So there's food everywhere we go. So why should the cruise be different? But if I'm telling myself, oh, I'm going to get through the cruise, or how am I going to get through Easter, or this wedding, weddings drive people crazy. If you're setting yourself up to fail on that, then you might fail. But what if you flip the script and say, I don't care if it's a wedding, Easter, cruise, 4th of July, Uncle William's 95th birthday. No one is going to be paying any attention to what I eat anyway. Even at weddings, believe it or not, no one pays attention to what you eat. Don't think that the world is looking over your shoulder and saying, oh my gosh, there goes Casey. She's on the buffet line. She's totally only eating the boiled shrimp, and she is not eating any of the sausage biscuits. No. No one cares. If they do, they need to get a life. You do what you need to do. Another analogy shared with me by one of my clients. Her husband said, if we were going out with so-and-so who tend to overdrink at dinner, I would not feel compelled to overdrink along with them just because they are, to be polite. No, we don't overdrink, so we're not going to. If they overdrink, that's their thing. Same thing. Don't overeat or eat food you don't want to be eating just because it's a wedding or bar mitzvah or Easter or a cruise. You'll be okay. You can get through it. If I can do this, absolutely anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. If 71-year-old Marion can do it, anyone can do it. I don't know if Tracy's on the session from California. Consistently losing. I think Tracy has shared that she started in the 300s. Consistently losing. I was contacted by a viewer, and I hope you're out there. Walter's mother, she's in her 90s. Y'all, 90s. She started doing this. She wears a pacemaker. Now, I didn't realize this, but a pacemaker, I guess, fires or does something to adjust a heart rhythm when it needs to. If your heart's having a thing, and it sends, I guess, an alert or signal to a monitoring station. Is that correct? She's had no signals from her pacemaker. From food. Okay? Someone commented, a fellow commented under one of my videos, and I don't think he was being facetious. He says, fibromyalgia improved, diabetes meds eliminated, inflammation gone. Is there anything the ketogenic diet doesn't cure? I had to reply, well, I'm still really short, so it doesn't cure everything. But it's just food. Don't give that up for a holiday. Don't give up that health. Forget about the weight. Don't give up the health. Don't give up being able to get up from a sitting position without creaking and it hurting. Don't give that up because it's Easter or Super Bowl Sunday or a graduation party or a wedding. Don't do that. Do it if you want to, but you don't have to do it. You can get through these things. Okay, Chin Chin writes, I'm Chinese and I'm trying to start on keto journey, but it's really hard when you use all the recipes Western people use is either bacon or avocado. It's very expensive here from where I come. Chin, you don't have to eat avocado or bacon. They are not compulsory. Here's what you want to do. You're in China, I assume. Just eat fatty sources of protein. Pork belly is perfect. Oily fishes, chicken with the skin. You don't have to eat avocado. Like I said, it's not compulsory. It's just a nice, half an avocado is a nice addition of some quality food. And Chin, I just bought for the first time bok choy, and we added that as our side vegetable, and we supplemented that with some sausages that we sauteed. It was great. Okay, Pamela's writing, Easter dinner, prime rib. Oh, yum. I might do that too. Green beans, mushrooms from Ralph's. I took it to the peninsula in Marina del Rey, ate it, and watched the boats go by. Yum and heaven. Come on now, what gets better than that? Pamela, I'm going to come visit you, and you're going to take me to that. We're going to watch boats. Man, I'd love to do that. I wish I could go visit all of you. We've got people from all over. I really feel like if I could travel, I would find a friendly face in almost every state, in almost every country. I love how this is spreading. Hey, Sonny, my older cat is sick and having blood work done. If he survives this, you're putting him on all protein. You know, our animal friends have different requirements. We kind of want to make them anthropomorphized. We want their food to look like beef stew that we would eat. You know, they don't care. You know, I mean, my dogs eat a dead squirrel in the backyard if they could get it. That would be an interesting thing to follow up on, wouldn't it, Sonny? And Pamela Heights would love it. I would too, seriously. I tell you what. I would love it. Okay, I'm going to look down over my... Oh, this question comes up. I also talked about this on the Facebook Live on Saturday. You know, I don't like to use the M word. Macros. Don't like to use the M word because people get so focused on them. Again, some people find the structure of the pie-shaped thing helpful. If it helps you, beautiful. I never paid attention to them. If you keep your carbs below 20 grams a day and eat fatty sources of protein and eat only when hungry, it pretty much works itself out. But because of the pie chart, people have confused 5% of their calories from carbs with 20 grams. It's not the percentage, it's the grams. And I'll tell you why. It might end up that if you keep your, if I eat 15 grams of carb a day and I eat only when hungry, blah, 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 and it might come down that it's about 5% of my calories. But let me tell you what, it doesn't work if you're saying, oh, I'm good as long as I keep my percentage of carbs below 5%, particularly if you're someone who has the erroneous thought that you must add a lot of dietary fat. You do not have to eat and should not eat 200 grams of added fat. Wrong. If you're a bodybuilder and you have no body fat on you, if you're an elite athlete and you're burning ketones for fuel and you have very little body fat, sure, you can get away with it. Again, raise your hand if you're an elite athlete or a 0% body fat bodybuilder. No, didn't think so. And let me tell you what happens. So if you are just going on percentages, and particularly if you're getting a ton of calories from 200 grams of fat or whatever, so you're eating a lot of calories. So if you're eating 4,000 calories and 5% of those calories are from carbs, okay, I'm in my ratios, but no, what's 5% of 4,000? Anybody? That's 200, right? That's 200 calories from carbs. I think that's right. There are 4 calories of energy per gram of carb. 200 divided by 4 is 50 grams of carb. Oh, Pam, you're so sweet. I'll put that in a travel account so I can come out to Marina del Rey. No. So that would be 50 grams of carb. And you say, why am I not losing? I'm doing my 5% and I'm getting my 200 grams of fat. I would be this big if I did that. So it's not 5% of carbs. It's 20 grams, okay? Conversely, if you want to take it to the other extreme, if I have a day where I'm just not that hungry, so all I eat is a salad, 100% of my calories are coming from carbs. But it might be only 15 grams. So you see, you can't go by the percentages. And try to ignore the macros. If you can. If you're getting overwhelmed by all the numbers and the figuring and just calculate your carbs. And after a while, you'll get to know. And frankly, you don't even have to measure that stuff if it's a really fatty thing. And if it's, a nice fatty pork chop, don't worry about it. The vegetables where a lot of people get hung up. Thank you, Pamela, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, Janie Bug writes, my bodybuilding daughter just started keto. She is one of those people. Yep. So that's when you're just wanting to meet your energy needs, and a lot of elite athletes are going keto because it's much more efficient. They don't have the stomach upset of trying to carb load. And for those of you who don't know, Professor Timothy Noakes, who coined the phrase carb loading, has gone back and essentially apologized to everyone and ripped that chapter out of his book. The book is titled The Lure of Running. He's a marathoner and coached marathoning. And he and his partner came up with the goos and gels to take on board when you're running. And he said, I'm so sorry, I just got it wrong. He listened to the science as he'd been taught, and it was just wrong. Accountability partner, someone has said something about. Okay, so I want to go ahead now and turn this over to a Q&A. So does anyone want to, I'm going to try to keep up with them. We're about 42 minutes in, and I want to kind of pull this off. I don't want this, to take up everyone's morning. Christy says that's a good point about the percentages. Yeah, it gets really confusing. Okay, Louise asked about intermittent fasting. I did talk about that earlier, Louise, but I will tell you, it seems if it works for people to think of it in those terms, and if they like the structure of apparently the so-called feeding window, great. To me, it's a little bit too arbitrary. I always say, I don't think it's any wiser to not eat arbitrarily than it is to eat arbitrarily. I don't want to not eat before 10 a.m. if I'm hungry. I was hungry for breakfast this morning. As I understand intermittent fasting, you try to, do the 16-8. Frankly, it's just called skipping breakfast as far as I'm concerned. The 16-8 is 8 hours. You don't eat between 10 and 6. But anyway, so to me, it seems a little bit gimmicky, but if it works for you, great. If that structure helps for me, I listen to my body. I eat when I'm hungry, and I don't eat if I'm not. And it kind of naturally, for me anyway, and for many people, works out to what someone would call intermittent fasting, but it just seems like a little gimmicky to me. That's just my opinion. I know it's helped a lot of people. Karen says, thank you for the super chats for our Alaska cruise. Thank you, Karen. I would love to meet you. I know getting from Alaska to Juneau is probably like me going from here to Seattle, but I would love to meet you. It's in the end of May. I would just love to meet you. Karen is awesome. Karen has been very successful at this, and she's not a 22-year-old either. She can share her story. She does a great job. Linda writes, I have to use my MyFitnessPal macro thing just to help me keep on track. I was way overeating carbs because I didn't realize how many carbs in my allowed veggies. Veggies, keep in mind, keeping it simple. Non-starchy vegetables in the quantity about the size of your fist. And that doesn't mean how many you can hold in your fist, about the size of your fist, pre-cooking, before cooked. And for salad, leafy greens, 2 sizes of your fist. That's about it. But I did measure, portion sizes of what, that means for broccoli can really be astounding. Some days I don't eat any vegetables. What about an egg fast to break a stall? If that works, great. I mean, all you're doing is really eliminating your carbs for the most part. There are a smidgen of carbs in eggs. but it's just really taking your carbs to about 0. And I've done that. When I first started, I didn't eat any vegetables for days. I still sometimes won't eat vegetables. Not because I don't like them. I love vegetables. I just don't have the hankering for them. I eat them when I kind of have a taste for them. But you could say the same thing. What about a cream cheese fast? Yeah, just don't eat carbs. What about a ribeye fast? Yeah, just don't eat carbs. But if eggs are easy and they certainly fill you up, I defy you to eat 3 boiled eggs and a tall glass of water and be able to eat anything else or even think about food for like 5 hours. Asking for answers. 16-8 is 16 hours fasting, an 8-hour window in which you eat. Right. So that's like eating between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Again, that just seems like skipping breakfast, which I do. But it just seems, I eat usually those hours because that's when I'm hungry. This morning I ate at 7 because that's when I was hungry. If only technology was as easy to master as keto. Been trying to connect live for weeks. Come see me in Fort Lauderdale. Good morning. Hey, Vicki. Man, I'm serious. If you can get me a place, I will talk in front of a group of people until the cows come home. There's a meme. All I want to do is drink wine and rescue dogs. All I really want to do is drink coffee or wine and talk about keto. Really. It has changed my life. I wish all of you could have met me 4 years ago. One thing, you wouldn't physically recognize me, which is one of the greatest things I ever hear. Oh my God, I didn't recognize you. Literally, one of my brothers did not recognize me. But you wouldn't have recognized the person by that behavior. It has changed my life. Did I tell you guys about my labs? My annual checkup? It's pretty good. Hemoglobin A1C 4.8. Glucose 66. Almost none of the tiny sticky LDLs. Pretty good. Oh, something else that came up at the support group meeting. I did a video on this, an old school video, but you may not have seen it. A woman was there who works at Duke. And I'm going to try to get an interview with her. She's shy, so I may not be able to. She is not a doctor. She sees people in skincare. And people who've had traumatic injuries to their skin, burns or surgical scarring or something else. But she said, excuse me, my coffee's repeating on me. That she was seeing people who had bariatric surgery and had lots of excess skin from the weight loss. And she saw that. And then she started seeing people that are patients of Dr. Westman's who had lost a great deal of weight. And their skin was different. She said, decidedly different. Thank you, Vicki. Super chat. Super chat. Thank you, Vicki. I wish you'd ask a question, though. I want to earn my keep. So Dr. Westman was actually intrigued by this himself because he's asked about skin a lot. I'm asked about skin a lot. I have some crepey skin. But even my medical doctor, during my exam a couple of weeks ago, she knew that I'd lost a lot of weight, and she seems to be okay with the keto. If she wasn't, too bad, because I'm going to continue on. But I was laying there, and she pulled the gown back, and she said, where are your folds of skin? I said, I don't have them. She said, why not? I said, I don't know. So this woman, the skin specialist, and I was talking in the meeting, and she said, she was pointing to me, she said, I'm looking at you. You've lost 95 pounds. How's that? Look at you, your skin. Now, she didn't see all my skin because I was wearing clothes, but I was wearing sleeveless. She thinks, this is her theory. She says she's not a doctor, there's no research, but it's an interesting theory, that the inflammation is reduced in other parts of our body, and the skin is our largest organ. And maybe there's less inflammation in our skin, thereby helping it. Now, many people have pointed out that Dr. Jason Funk has written that autophagy, which is kind of your cells, not replacing themselves, but they kind of eat up the old to provide the new, is a simple way to put it. It kind of recycles, if that makes sense. Don't know. I'll say Dr. Jason Funk is very engaging, and I've seen him speak in person and seen many of his lectures. he's a clinician, and I'd be very interested in the actual research of some things. I think that's a great thing. Maybe it's just because I lost slowly. And I could stand to have a little tummy tuck, but if I don't, it's not a tripping hazard at this point. Dry brushing, yes, Darylyn, dry brushing the skin in another video. What is dry brushing? I meant to bring it downstairs and show you. That's just when you have a body brush. So the bristles are not, not like a scrub brush. They're made for this. And then you just brush. You brush from your extremities towards your heart, always brushing towards your heart. And this skin expert, because Dr. Westman asked, what are 3 top tips for skin? She said, do not take overly hot showers or baths. Dry brush before bathing, or, whatever, every day. And use a high quality body lotion. I'm going to contact her and see if she can share what body lotion that might be. But anyway, you brush. That's easy. You stand there and brush towards your heart, up your, from your feet, up your legs, on your tuchus, your tummy, and down your chest towards your heart. And I don't know the science behind it or the theory behind it. That's what she said. And it's easy enough to do. And you can get the brushes almost anywhere from Walmart to Bed Bath & Beyond to Guyam. They're not fancy. I meant to bring mine down. My daughter-in-law gave me one. I have the best daughters-in-law. Can I tell you? Love them. And we're, well, I won't share that. Chrissy writes, I dry skin brush too. Love how that feels. It's a large, natural bristle brush you brush over your body. And yes, and Tan Shell 1 writes, there are videos on YouTube how to do dry brushing. I watch those to figure it out. Love YouTube. Autophagy, or autophagy. Thank you. I was mispronouncing it apparently. Okay, you guys. So any other questions? We're approaching, going towards an hour. I was going to try to keep it shorter. A couple of, let me just share with you. People have been asked to be reminded. Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Facebook Live. Monday mornings, 9 a.m., YouTube Live. I'm trying to incorporate another live one. Oh, by the way, did you guys get notifications? A lot of people are saying they're not getting notified of the live. If you do get notified, but weren't before, did you make a change? And just share it with the other folks. I have no idea what to do about that. Sandy Pilgrim writes, started keto a week ago, have lost 6 pounds, developed a terrible headache yesterday, still have today. Is this normal? Yeah, it is. Take some cheap bouillon, some like Knorr bouillon cubes, maybe 2 of those a day. It could be when you lose weight, the ketogenic diet, your body releases a lot of water, and with the water goes salt. With the salt goes other minerals, particularly magnesium. And that can make you feel unwell if those are low. So just add some sodium, and that can help. Okay, Tian Shell, nope. I've yet to get a notification. Check the bell, but still nothing. Do you, I think you have to go into notifications and say push notifications. I think you have to check that and make sure your sound is on. Does that sound right? Okay, Lynn, how to avoid temptation at a party when there's very little choice? To be blunt, Lynn, just don't eat anything. You don't have to eat because you're at a party. Even if it's a dinner party. Surely your host is serving, even at a dinner party, salad. You can have salad, but you don't have to eat. Now, that does, that's a simple answer. Doesn't mean it's easy. Eat before you go. Eat 3 hard-boiled eggs and a glass of water. You won't want to eat anything else. Okay, Darylyn got notification today. Darylyn, did you change something on your settings? Thank you very much. Also on Patreon, if you're on this live and you are at the level where you're entitled to the group chat and you did not get an invitation from me that I sent out last night, please let me know, okay? I want to make sure everyone got their invite. We're having our first group patron-only group chat tonight. I think it's going to be fun. Okay, Kathy, I got a notification from YouTube. Yay. Shady 14M, do I need to refeed, cheat, and keto diet? No. If yes, when? How often? How much carbs? You're an amateur bodybuilder, 95 kilograms, 10% body fat, striving to. No, Shady, I would say no. Dr. Westman says he doesn't know. We did talk about this during the meeting, but after the meeting, he doesn't know of a reason scientifically why you would want to do that. Some good sources for you. The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance, written by Finney and Volek. Excellent. They talk about it. And if you can listen to lectures of Dr. Jeff Volek, V-O-L-E-K. Dr. Westman says he probably knows more about the topic now than anyone else in the world. So he's an authority. And he's all about exercise physiology. Marion, you're most sweet. How do you contribute? I don't know that you can. If you see a dollar sign between below the chat, that's for super chat. If you want to go to Patreon and check out the options there, you're most kind. Thank you. Okay, Darylyn said, got my notification on my phone, had sound turned all the way up, had to make certain YouTube settings were right for notification, as you said. Okay, yeah. So you have to click the bell and then go into notifications. I think it's called push notifications. Yeah, Shady 14 mem. Yes, thanks. So that means glycogen resources get restored from fat. Yes, our body can make our own sources of glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis, and the glycogen, yes, is mobilized for that. Do some research with Volek and get the book. It's really fascinating. Ida M, how do I start keto? Been doing 50 grams or less, but nothing losing. 20 grams, babe. 20 grams total is what you need to do if nothing's happening. That sounds like very few, and it is compared to 50. 20. That's how you start. Really reduce those carbs. And I don't know how you're getting the carbs. It might be from vegetables. But you know, no grains, no starches, no potatoes, no rice. Marie, try to get the book at Barnes. I got mine on Amazon. And I'll put a link to the books. This book, The Big Fat Surprise, explains how it all got so off the tracks. The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living, which was my first go-to source. I had keep tabs. And if you have a year and a half of your life to spend reading it, Good Calories, Bad Calories explains the early part of how we got to bad science and bad politics and got into the low fat thing, which was disastrous for us all. So those links will be in there. And also the keto sticks, I'm going to do an old school video on those. They are an excellent tool, and they're certainly affordable. But if you can afford it and want to invest in it, a glucose meter that reads ketones as well. I use the Precision Extra. I have the link to that. Amanda, any tips for keto rash? I never experienced it. My understanding is that, and this is listening to Dr. Finney lecture, is that about 2% of people on a well-formulated ketogenic diet will get it, and it clears. The thinking being that it might be just your body kind of detoxing. Keep in mind, our skin is an organ, our largest organ. All right, I am going to start to sign off. Thank you for the support. Check back again in a week. And I'm going to try to do some patron-only live streams. So I'm really learning about this thing. Thanks to for all your patience as I learn all these different platforms. It's good for my neuroplasticity because I have to keep learning new stuff. And I will talk at you guys later. Thanks for the support. Keep it real. 20 grams of carb or fewer per day. Eat fatty sources of protein. Eat only when hungry. Don't sweat it. Be kind to yourself. And challenge yourself this week to do something that you didn't think you could or would do. Doesn't have to do with food. And don't tell yourself, how am I going to get through Easter? Tell yourself, I'm going to get through Easter. It's just a day. And it's just food. All right? Peace out, y'all.